Hello, I'm JEXST, and welcome to the History of Competitive Splatoon 2. Let's dive right in. First things first, Splatoon 2 was revealed on January 12th in a Nintendo Direct. The game was subsequently released on July 21st, 2017. Splatoon 2, for those who don't know, is a third-person shooter video game developed and published by Nintendo for the Nintendo Switch, as a sequel to Splatoon that was released in the Nintendo Wii U in 2015. However, many of you probably already know this, so let's get going to the good stuff. From a competitive standpoint, the first major event occurred before the game even released at E3 2017. 4 teams from around the globe, specifically the 4 major regions, Japan, the United States and Canada, Australia, New Zealand, and Europe, had regional tournaments at Splatoon 1 to decide who would nab a spot in the inaugural Splatoon 2 World Championship. Japan was heavily favored as their skill levels dwarfed those of their global counterparts. Japan's lineup included 4 of the best in the world: Dynamon, Arubaru, Kakushino, and Wakarun as Team Dynamo. The tournament was a rush of excitement as the game's very first steps were seen before thousands of eyes. The tense grand finals came down to the US representative Deadbeat, featuring Tim, Hex, and Penga in power, versus the Japan favorites, Dynamo. Deadbeat was definitely an underdog in this tournament, even though all 4 of them were extremely good players. However, they ended up shocking the world. As Deadbeat hoisted the Sterling Squid, Mr. Nogami seemed quite emotional, as if all his hard work had finally paid off. I bet he didn't even know what was to come, but we'll get to that later. The next major event is obviously the launch of the game. July 21st was the worldwide release, and people started figuring things out pretty quickly. The Tri-Slosher was considered broken early on as it had an extremely fast time to kill, burst bombs to combo, and a pre-patch armor special that came out extremely quickly and was really hard to break. Combo that with weapons that had Inkjet being very easy to use and having ridiculous kill power, and the early comps were often crazy to see and really aggressive. The Splatbrella released on August 11th, 2017, and most people were excited to try out a weapon of a brand new class. It made some waves initially, but didn't have as big a splash as people thought it would, but don't forget about it, it'll be back. Just over a month after Deadbeat won the World Championship, they became the first Western Splatoon 2 team to be signed by an esports organization, that org being Set to Destroy X. This was a huge moment for the Splatoon community as it showed that hard work and skill could be rewarded at the highest level. It gave others hope that Splatoon 2 was on its way to becoming a mainstream esport. Just 4 days later, on August 19th, the first major online Splatoon tournament was held, Endgame TV's Inkstorm Plus. EGTV had held Inkstorm tournaments for Splatoon 1, but this one went all out and included matches from the best of the best, slugging it out for fresh bragging rights. StDx proved they were still the best in the world by defeating Japanese challengers, almost kids, in grand finals. What seemed innocent at the time, but would have insane repercussions on the game's meta, the Sloshing Machine released August 25th, 2017. The first special added post-launch was Bubble Blower, added on September 2nd, 2017, on the Forge Splattershot Pro. They were relatively weak at first, but time will be kind to these bubbles. The first major patch of Splatoon 2 shook everything up and created a new meta almost overnight on September 7th, 2017. Tri-Slosher was nerfed hard, and so was Inkjet and Armor. Stingray got its now infamous buffs in this historic patch, as well as Baller becoming the centerpiece of the newest meta for the next month or so. A fan-favorite weapon from Splatoon 1 made its glorious and long-awaited return on the 10th of October, the Range Blaster. Along with patch 1.4.0, which knocked Baller off its throne as the king of the meta, Brellas and Bubbles got large buffs in this patch with smaller tweaks to a lot of weapons. The early development of the game was still widely unbalanced, but strides were being made towards a more balanced experience. Fast forward a few weeks later to November 4th, and the first major LAN event is held in North America, in Boston, Squidstorm 2017. StDx attends and wipes the floor with the competition, starting a streak of LAN wins that would remain untouched for a long time to come. The next major online tournament takes place just a week later, G7 Online 2, hosted by EGTV in cooperation with Altera. Splatoon 1 veterans and fan favorites Team Olive took the win over Quantum. On the 23rd of November, patch 2.0.0 drops, adding tons of new gear, a new map, a higher level cap, and a prestige system, along with a nerf to Inkstorm, which had been really prevalent in the meta after 1.3.0. The king of polarizing modes itself, Clam Blitz, was added to the game just a few weeks later on December 12, 2017. This mode would usher in community discussion, memes, and salt for months to come. Often regarded as one of the best weapons throughout the game's entire lifespan, the Slosher Deco was released 2 days after Clam Blitz on December 14, 2017. what seemingly looked like a pretty good weapon would go on to become a staple in several of the metas to come. As the new year rolled in, so did a new patch, 2.2.0. On January 16, 2018, this patch nerfed bubbles by allowing opponents to weaken them more effectively, toning down their prevalence and effectiveness in the meta at the time. Now we get to one of the biggest Splatoon 2 events of all time, Genesis 5. From January 19th to 21st, the competitive scene experienced probably one of the best weekends it has ever seen. From the jump by Saffron Rice to this.
Got this push going. There are still 4 players alive. 37 seconds left in the game. They're looking fine right now.
Right, here comes the armor right here. Brazil spots a couple out here on the side. One of them's playing it, gonna force him back the other way. Just over 30 seconds. Is this really happening?
The last opportunity that StDx has. The armor is up. They don't have any other specials to go though. It's just gonna be Legacy picking them off one by one now. That is 2 down. 2v2 situation.
They're pushing it
Power?
back here. Power has to come up big, and Power
does come up big.
Kill on Dan. 10 seconds left in the game. My heart can barely take this. They're gonna try to push in one more time.
I'm scared. Hype needs to find this pick on Power. If Power can get this, okay, so they do trade. It's a 3v3 now in the middle of the map.
Overtime. If it goes back the other way one time, if they take
2
it
players
one
down.
more time,
And Hex is
Hex
stuck in an
That's
ninja.
gonna be it.
Hex is going for an
That's gonna be it.
ninja.
That's gonna happen.
Legacy takes out set to destroy Hex. 3-1.
I do not believe what I am seeing. They rushed the stage. I am so sorry if that.
Yup. What is possibly an upset similar in caliber to Deadbeat's own defeat of Japan in the Splatoon World Championship, Legacy's defeat of StDx was the first time they had been sent to a loser's bracket in any tournament they played in Splatoon 2. The stream capped at around 5,000 viewers, which is the most Splatoon 2 has had ever for a non-Nintendo hosted stream. Legacy advanced to Grand Finals after their Cinderella story of an upset, cementing themselves as one of the best teams in the West in that moment. But StDx wasn't done, and after an insane set with Team Olive capped off with the first of many of Kiver's incredible pop-offs, they came back to reset the bracket and win Genesis 5, showing once again why they were the best of the best. Not to mention the memes that spawned from this tourney. Most of them by yours truly, but they were fantastic. A week later on the 21st of January, EGTV held another large online tournament, this one with a special prize. Inkcage 2 had a special prize that its top 2 finishers would be granted automatic top 8 spots in their upcoming major Inkstorm Cup. In Inkstorm Cup, the top 2 of that tournament would be flown to Japan to complete in Platinum Cup 4. Inkcage 2 was a great event by itself, marked by the return of familiar faces Team Olive getting the win, and the first great finish for Splatoon 1 veterans Kraken Paradise as they finished second and locked up their top 8 spot in Inkstorm Cup. February kicked off with a bang as fan-favorite tournament series Black and Spoon returned for a Test Season 0 on the 9th. This tourney was really popular in Splatoon 1 for its limits on invincibility specials and quick respawn stealth jump, but in Splatoon 2, anything goes. BNS would finish out its test season and begin hosting weekly tournaments for roughly the next year and a half. Eventually, they started having donation drives at the beginning of every tournament stream, which created consistent prize pools for each tournament, making it the largest weekly in terms of possible prize money and attendance. On the other side of the globe, GG Boys, an amalgamation of top Japanese players, won the regional tournament for Japan, Koshien 2018, on the 13th of February, which secured themselves as the best of the best, and, they didn't know it at the time, a spot at the Splatoon World Championships 2018. However, a familiar face was on GG Boys. Dynamon from Team Dynamio from the Splatoon World Championship 2017 Japanese team. March started off with a bang as Nintendo dropped some bombshells on the 8th. Octo Expansion and X-Rank. The hype was high and only grew from here as people were psyched to see a revamp to the game's ranking system. Just 2 to 3 days later, on the 10th through the 11th, StDx took their second straight land crown at Long Island Splat's Beacon 2018. Long Island Splat, now called Game Set Match, had held some smaller New York regional lands, and their first land major was a success, drawing over 1,000 viewers for the grand finals between a Saikai pickup and StDx. A battle of different playstyles ensued, but StDx came out on top. For some time, the community had been crying out for a weapon variant, a cousin of the one that had dominated the meta of Splatoon 1 in its last months, the H3 Nozzle Nose D. It finally dropped on the 16th of March to a resounding amount of memes from the community, as this weapon could churn out armors like nobody's business, and it won't be the last time we'll see it. March ended on a high note as the European Championship 2018 came to a head with the German squad Gucci Gang taking on the French squad El Firmament in the finals. Gucci Gang fought extremely hard and secured the victory, and they locked up their spot to the Splatoon World Championship 2018. April came, and so did Yeah Nah. They came to play, as they dominated the 2018 Australia-New Zealand Splatoon 2 Cup Finals with a 5-0 win over Scarth Ace. Latias locked up her spot as only the second person ever to return to E3 besides Dynamon. Just 1 day later, StDx once again reached the summit of Splatoon, defeating Tomo in the United States-Canada Inkling Open, securing their spots to E3 2018 and Splatoon World Championship 2018, becoming the first team ever to repeat in their trips to Los Angeles. However, I wouldn't forget about Tomo. They might be important later down the line. A few days later on the 23rd, X-Rank released, along with patch 3.0.0. Schlosser Deco got slapped with a 220-point special nerf, and Ninja Squid took a tough hit too, limiting a meta that had been defined by Ninja Squid Emperies. May 2018 was a relatively quiet month, but June definitely delivered in early on too. On the 1st through the 3rd of June, Smash and Splash 4 took place, with, you guessed it, StDx taking their third straight LAN victory over a pickup called Wakanda Forever. They essentially became the Lakers of the early 2000s by three-peating, and they seemed to be pretty unstoppable at LANs. 2 weeks later, on the 11th through the 13th, E3 2018 took place, with the 4 representatives of the globe back in Los Angeles once again to compete for the Splatoon 2 World Championship title and the Sterling Squid. StDx finally showed their weakness and crumbled as they fell to the EU champs Gucci Gang, renamed Backsquids, in a huge upset. But remember this one guy, Kyo. He subbed for StDx, and he was integral in helping them even have a chance to make it to Grands, and he might be back later in this timeline. After E3, Nogami showed a short video that revealed game updates and balance patches would continue for at least another year, along with the reveal of 4 new weapons, the Bloblobber, the Explosher, the Ballpoint Splatling, and the Nautilus. And the biggest mic drop of all time, Octo Expansion, available tomorrow. Patch 3.1.0 dropped, giving access to Octo Expansion and nerfing blasters for the first time, with a 6% decrease in blast radius, opening the door for its cousins, the Rapid family, to take over in the next meta. The next week, on the 21st of June, another major esports moment came for Splatoon 2. Fan favorites Team Olive got sponsored by Ghost Gaming, becoming the second major team to be signed by a larger esports organization and adding a threat to StDx's LAN dominance. Fast forward to the 30th of June, and 2 weapons drop. Although at the time they seemed kind of interesting and a little lackluster, the Explosher and the Ballpoint Splatling would have a large impact going forward, albeit not for a few patches. July rolled around, and a now legendary hacker caused some waves by hacking himself to the top of the X-Rank leaderboards with one message clearly spelled out: please add anti-cheat. He was banned pretty quickly, and I don't think he's been heard from since, but the impact he had still rings true for many Splatoon 2 fans and critics of Splatoon 2's online experience. A little while later, and patch 3.2.0 slaps Rapids with the same nerf blasters got a month earlier, 6% radius decrease, ending their reign as the Meta Kings. The next day, July 14th, and then into the 15th, Inkstorm Cup, you remember that one? The tournament whose top 2 go to Japan to play for Platinum Cup played out, with a huge surprise. A new team, a super team, formed of some of the members of Tomo, told you not to forget him, including Kyo, yup him, called Feed to Win, or FT Win. FT Win swept through the entire bracket, not dropping a single game in what is arguably the greatest run of all time, 3-0ing StDx and Kraken Paradise on their way to the win. However, due to some unfortunate scheduling conflicts, neither first place win FT Win nor second place Kraken Paradise could attend Platinum Cup 4 in Tokyo, so the 3rd and 4th place teams took their spots. You might recognize these two, StDx and Ghost Gaming. Another big development in Splatoon esports hit on the 26th of July, as the NPB Baseball League partnered with Splatoon 2 to set up a league sponsored by 12 professional baseball teams in Japan. July rounded out with a huge accomplishment yet to be matched by anyone in the Western scene. Bursty from FT Win achieved 3 top 5 placements for the month. Literally incredible. August started off with a bang as Platinum Cup 4 showed who was really on top. StDx came in dead last after a disappointing performance, but Ghost Gaming defeated powerhouse Libilant Calamari before falling to the world champs GG Boys in the finals. Another sponsor jumped into the fray a few weeks later on the 20th of July, as Quantum was signed to Demise. The roster of Splatoon veterans has evolved since then, but the core has remained roughly the same. In their first lands being sponsored, both Ghost and Demise did not disappoint as they duked it out in grand finals of Long Island Summer Splat on August 24th through the 26th. This event, the second major from GSM, seemed to be the final nail in the coffin for the glorious 2017 champs StDx. Just 1 week later, StDx's contract was up and they disbanded. An era of Splatoon defined by high-level gameplay, intense rivalries, insane pop-offs, and dominance came to an end. But out of the ashes of StDx's disbandment, Kiver rose like a phoenix and joined up with powerhouse Kraken Paradise, adding even more firepower to an already deadly roster on September the 1st. In an unprecedented achievement the world had never seen before, occurred on September the 9th, 2018. Somebody got number 1 in all 4 modes at the exact same time. Who was that player? Well, of course, it was a world champion and a member of GG Boys, Yamamicchi. Another huge update and teaser from Nintendo revealed a collection of weapons, subs, and specials that was added along with patch 4.0.0 on the 13th of September. Slosher was also hit with its now infamous 50.0 hitbox nerf, as well as a large dually nerf, signaling some changes to come in the meta that had previously been dominated by the two. After a seemingly irreplicable achievement by Yamamicchi, it was actually repeated by another god of Splatoon, Ku, just 10 days later, as he also got number 1 in all 4 modes at the exact same time. October kicked off with the introduction of a meta-defining weapon, the Kensa Sloshing Machine paired with Fizzy Bombs, on the 2nd of October. Although it didn't have much of a splash at the time, the Kensa Splattershot Pro was also released during this patch, although it will have a splash to come. 2 weeks into October, on the 14th, InkTV held its first Ink Invitational tournament, built on inviting the top 16 teams in the Western scene to compete for glory, in what will go down as a legendary cherry on the cake of hype. Gray Squidbag to dunk combo to cap KP's reverse sweep of Ghost Gaming in grand finals is always a treat to watch. November added a weapon that seemed pretty lame at the time, but to this day remains a force to be reckoned with, the Kensa Undercover Brella. The 7th of November was also the release of the third Kensa weapon collection focused around the Ultra Stamp and Torpedo sub. November 22nd was the day. Everyone knew it was going to happen, but no one knew that it would be the day. 2900 in X rank was achieved by Secret Tauru for the first time, and it would definitely not be the last. Just 2 days after that incredible achievement, Nintendo revealed an even bigger one. A new ability called Main Powerup was coming to the game, along with the variants of the 4 weapons they teased way back at E3, the Blob Blubber Deco, the Custom Explosion, the Ballpoint Spelling Nouveau, and the Nautilus 79. Early December introduced that ability, and with it, a broken meta. The 4th of December introduced Main Powerup in its capability to boost dualies to 3-shot kills, Ballpoint to 3-shot kills, and K-Pro to a 2-shot kill. Ballpoint became one of the most devastatingly effective backlines the game has ever seen and shot through tier lists faster than an ink rail activates. Custom Explosion also arrived, but to a lesser degree, as Baller wasn't as prevalent in the meta at this point. However, this patch did include some good news for competitive players, as Fizzy was nerfed for the first time along with Brella. Stingray was nerfed massively for the first time, while Ultra Snap got some much needed quality of life buffs. The meta went from Fizzy spam to Ballpoint, Dually, and K-Pro main power-up spam, and I guess some fizzies on the side. The Kensa Weapon Collection 4 was also added, with at least one of each of the new subs and or specials included on each weapon. And just 2 weeks later, the devs toned down the main power-up on Ballpoints and Dualies, removing the 3-shot entirely for Ballpoint and making the investment for Dualies to get 3 shots much higher. Bubbles also got nerfed again, as well as the second Fizzy nerf. The meta that a lot of people despise came to a close, as the game's balanced team finally seemed to get a grasp on the new subs and specials. The end of December came with a huge gift from the community. InkTV helped raise a $3,132 prize pool for their first online non-invite major, the InkTV Open. Young Gale, a relatively unknown group of young Japanese players, swooped in and defeated Kraken Paradise for their lion's share of the biggest community-raised prize pool of a Splatoon tournament anyone has ever seen. The new year kicked off with another esports development, as Prophecy got signed by Low-Key Esports. That group included a prolific member of the community, The One, who had achieved a goal he had always set out to do. Later on in the month, the 27th, GG Boys repeated as Koshien champs, winning the 2019 Koshien Nationals. They secured a spot to, you probably guessed it, the Splatoon World Championship 2019, and Sheldon's Picks was also revealed after the tournament. 2 days later, on the 29th of January, patch 4.4.0 dropped with some big buffs to Missiles, Ultra Stamp, and Booyah Bomb. The stamp buffs proved to be a great catalyst for experimentation as the hammer became increasingly used. In their first LAN appearance ever, and also as a sponsored team, Low-Key did not disappoint as they played hard to a second place finish behind Ghost Gaming at Genesis 6 on the 1st of February. A few weeks later, GameSet Match's online Grand Prix came to a close, with Kraken Paradise winning the first prize over 2018 European champions Backsquids. Hot off their win in GameSet Match's Grand Prix, Kraken Paradise was poised to take another huge W, but FT-Win cooled them off as they took the W at the second InkTV Invitational on the 23rd of February. Early into March, on the 10th, an unexpected buff to Mini Splatling increased its usage overnight thanks to patch 4.5.0. Fizzy got nerfed once again along with Machine, lowering Machine from one of the best weapons in the game to mid to high tier. Everything also seemed to deal more damage to Brella as the devs continued to try to strike a balance between Brella and everything else. That same day, Alliance Rogue, the French team made up of Ghost Gaming and Kraken Paradise members, won the European Championship 2019 over last year's European champions Backsquids to lock up a spot to the 2019 Splatoon World Championship. Urza, Soren, Kiver, and Gray avenged their early exit from the tournament last year and showed everyone that France is not to be messed with. Later on in March, Ghosts continued their LAN win streak with a win at Beacon 2019 over Deep Blues on March 22nd through the 24th in Log Island, once again hosted by GameSet Match. The end of March was a hype one, as the North American Inkling Open 2019 finals heated up in Boston at PAX East. FT-Win took Low-Key to Game 7 and then stomped them on Mako TC to take the win and secure their spot at the Splatoon World Championship 2019 in LA. April kicked off with a big patch, as Kensa Splattershot Pro's main power-up meta was finally coming to a close. Its curve was reworked so it would need a heavy investment to get its two-shot, and Bubbles in the heavy Splatling got buffed incredibly well. Sheldon's Picks were also added, along with weapon tags that show how much ink a person has with a weapon. Just a few days later, Lime Soda showed how hype Splatoon 2 can be by reverse sweeping Morning Sun 5-4 to win the Splatoon 2 Australasian Open Finals 2019, securing themselves a spot in the Splatoon World Championship 2019 in Los Angeles at E3. As mid-April rolled around, InkTV held another major tournament, the InkTV Open 2. This time, Kraken Paradise got the W. Young Gale didn't stand in their way this time, probably because they didn't play. The end of April brought another patch, 4.7.0, with a buff to suction bombs and a nerf to Brella's ink efficiency. Suction bomb weapons would see an increase in usage from here on out, with a slight reemergence of the NZAP 85. May brought some sad news as Ghost Gaming ended their contract with Team Olive, who returned to their former name on the 10th. But they vowed that they would still soldier on in the competitive scene after they get back from a slight hiatus, since 2 of their members are going to E3 in June. Mid-May brought the end of the MPB Baseball Collaboration League, with the Yokohama Bay Stars winning the W, one of the members being Mauricio, the young phenom who would help power Young Gale to their big win in the InkTV Open months prior. Late May brought patch 4.8.0, which included a buff to Splash Rolls, Inkjet, and a nerf to Tenebrellas. The meta up to this point had been kinda defined by the Ultra Stamp, Brellas, Ray, and Armor. And on May 29, 2019, it finally happened. 3,000 points in X rank. Ryu Kegel, you are truly a legend. And as another LAN hit the books at the end of May and into early June, For the What, a pickup comprised of 2 members of formerly StDx and 2 members of FT-Win, used Smash and Splash 5 as practice for their upcoming spotlight at E3. They took the win over Demise in insane fashion, winning 6 games straight after being down 3-2 in the first set of Grand Finals. And with that, we are all caught up on Splatoon 2's competitive history. A lot of tournaments, teams, moments, and memories lie within the dates on this timeline you see before you. Blood, sweat, tears, screams, pop-offs, upsets, memes, sweeps, and everything in between has helped Splatoon 2 craft such a rich history in such a short time. In light of E3 2019 and what might be the last really big event for Splatoon 2, I wanted to give back to the community for all it has done, by preserving some of the history that helped make it so special. So, to every veteran squid in the tattered record books, to every noob who keeps booting up the sequel for the first time, I hope you enjoyed this history of competitive Splatoon 2, and hope you caught just a glimpse of what makes this game so special. Thanks for watching.